They planned a big birthday dinner for my father-in-law. Everyone was invited. My husband, his siblings, their partners, even some family friends. Everyone except me. I found out by accident, from a group text on my husband's phone. I wasn't supposed to see it, but he left his phone on the kitchen counter and the screen lit up. The message read, "So glad she's not coming this time. Let's keep it drama-free." I scrolled up and saw the whole thread. They'd been planning it for over a week, talking about the restaurant, the menu, who was driving who. There were even inside jokes about me. Someone had said, "At least this time we won't get that sad vegan lasagna." I didn't even know they hated it. I just stood there, staring at the screen. My hands were shaking. I wasn't invited to my own father-in-law's birthday dinner. My husband hadn't mentioned a word. I waited until he got home that night. I asked him calmly if there was anything happening this weekend. He acted like he forgot, then said, "Oh, yeah, just a little dinner for Dad. Nothing big." Nothing big? He didn't apologize. Didn't even look guilty. Just brushed it off like I was making a fuss. Said it was probably just a miscommunication, that his mum must have forgotten to tell me. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. Instead, I picked up my phone, called the restaurant, and cancelled the entire reservation. Why? Because the dinner was under my name. I had made the reservation a month ago when my husband asked me to help organise something for his dad, back when I still thought I was part of this family. Apparently, once the planning started, they decided they didn't want me involved anymore, but forgot they needed me to secure the table, so I cancelled it, just like that. Then I made a new reservation under a fake name at the same time, same place, just to make sure they couldn't rebook it last minute. I didn't tell anyone. I let them find out the hard way. And trust me, seeing how it all unfolded was even better than I imagined. I'm in my early 30s, married to Dan. We've been together for 6 years, married for 3. On the outside, his family looks like something out of a picture-perfect holiday card. Smiling faces, matching sweaters, Sunday dinners, family vacations. They're the kind of family that sends long Christmas newsletters and has a group chat that never sleeps. But from the start, I never really felt like I belonged. It wasn't anything obvious at first. They were polite, always nice to my face, but there was a feeling I couldn't shake, like I was visiting someone else's party. Not really invited, just tolerated. His mum especially had this way of smiling without warmth. She never said anything directly rude, but it was always the little things, like how she'd always forget to tell me when family plans were changing. Once, we showed up to a 4th of July cookout that had apparently turned into a fancy dinner at a country club. Everyone else was dressed up. I was in shorts and flip-flops. She laughed and said, "Oh, didn't Dan tell you?" I told him to let you know. Dan swore she hadn't. Another time, she invited everyone to a wine-tasting girls' weekend. When I asked about it, she said, "Oh, I didn't think it was your thing. You don't drink, right?" I never said that. I just didn't drink around her because she once mocked me for ordering a sweet wine. Dan's dad always seemed more laid back, but even he made it clear who the favourites were. He adored Dan's younger sister and made jokes about how she'd married up. When Dan and I announced our engagement, he raised an eyebrow and said, "Guess she finally wore you down, huh?" He laughed, but I didn't. I tried to ignore these moments, told myself I was overthinking. Dan said they were just being themselves, that his mom was old-fashioned and means well. I wanted things to work, so I let it go. Over and over, bit my tongue at dinners, smiled through the awkward moments, even helped plan events for his parents, baked birthday cake, brought gifts, wrote cards. I wanted to be part of the family. I really did, but it never mattered how hard I tried. No one ever reached out to me directly. I was always brought in as an afterthought, if I was brought in at all. Still, I kept the peace. For Dan, for us. I told myself it would get better with time, but time only made the message clearer. I wasn't part of the perfect family, not really. It happened on a Tuesday night. Dan was in the shower and his phone buzzed a few times on the kitchen counter. Normally, I don't snoop, but the screen lit up and I saw the name of his sister pop up in a group chat I didn't recognize. Fam only. Something about that name made my stomach turn. I tapped it. I shouldn't have, but I did. The chat was full of messages about a birthday dinner, a surprise celebration for my father-in-law's 65th. They had picked a nice restaurant, planned a custom cake, and was sorting out who was bringing gifts, who was carpooling. Every name was in there. Dan, his mum, both his sisters, their husbands, even an aunt I barely know, except me. Then I saw it. A message from his mum. Let's keep it just us this time. Keep things smooth. Followed by Dan's sister. Agreed. At least this time she won't bring that tofu lasagna lol. Then a laughing emoji. I stared at it for a long time. That lasagna was something I made last year for a family potluck. They all said they liked it, or pretended to. I felt like I'd been punched. I scrolled a little more. They had been planning this for over a week, sharing menus, outfit choices, even inside jokes. Jokes I was clearly the butt of. When Dan got out of the shower, I waited. I asked him calmly, "Hey, is there a dinner for your dad this weekend?" He blinked, then said, "Oh, yeah, just a little thing. I forgot to tell you." Forgot. That was the word he chose. He looked down at his phone and saw that I had seen it. His face changed, slightly guilty, mostly annoyed. "It's not a big deal," he said. "Just something simple." My mom didn't want to overcomplicate it. I nodded, didn't say much. But in my chest, something changed. It wasn't an accident. It was planned. They had left me out on purpose. And Dan knew. This wasn't about tofu lasagna. This was about respect. And they had just taken the last bit of mine. I waited until the next morning. Dan was making coffee like nothing had happened. I sat across from him at the table and asked calmly, "So why wasn't I invited to your dad's dinner?" He paused for a second, then shrugged. "I told you, it's just a small thing. Nothing big." I looked at him. "That's not what the group chat says. You've all been planning it for over a week." He shifted in his seat, suddenly interested in his coffee. "Okay, but do you really want to go? You always say you feel out of place at these things." "I feel out of place because they treat me like I don't belong," I said. "And now you've decided to make it official." He rolled his eyes. "Come on, don't be dramatic. It's not personal." "Dan," I said slowly. "They literally said, at least she won't bring her tofu lasagna. That's personal." He sighed like I was exhausting him. "It's a joke. You're reading too much into it. You always do this." That word again. Always. Like I was some ticking bomb they had to walk around. My phone buzzed. A message from his mom. "It's just family this time, dear. We didn't want to overwhelm Dad on his birthday. You understand, right?" Overwhelm him. I've been at every birthday dinner for the past 5 years. I've cooked for them, bought gifts, helped clean up. But now I was too much. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I didn't cry or scream. I stood up, poured out the rest of my coffee, and went upstairs. Not a single word. Dan didn't follow me. I sat on the bed, staring at the wall. My heart was pounding, but my mind was clear. I thought about every moment I had let slide, every small insult I'd swallowed for the sake of keeping the peace. Every time I'd let myself feel like the outsider, like maybe I just had to try harder, but not this time. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. They chose to leave me out, to laugh behind my back, and Dan, my own husband, chose to go along with it. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to do what they never expected. I was going to answer without saying a single word, and I already knew exactly how. The reservation was under my name. That part they had forgotten. A month ago, before all this happened, Dan had asked me to help book a place for his dad's birthday. I found a nice local restaurant, classy, quiet, the kind with white tablecloths and soft music. I made the reservation for 12 people under my name, sent the confirmation to Dan. That was it. Now, sitting in our bedroom with my phone in hand, I opened the email. The reservation was still active. I stared at it for a while. Then, without thinking too hard, I tapped call. The hostess answered cheerfully. "Thank you for calling Thorn and Vine. How can I help you?" "Hi," I said, calm and steady. "I have a reservation for this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. under the name Rachel. It's for 12 people." She clicked her keyboard for a second. "Yes, we have you here. I need to cancel that reservation, please." "No problem at all. Cancelled. Would you like to rebook?" "Yes, actually," I said. "Same time, same table size, but under a different name." She paused. "Sure. What's the new name?" "Lila Bennett," I said. "It's for a birthday dinner." "Got it. Lila Bennett, party of 12, Saturday at 6:30. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "Perfect. Thank you." I hung up. That was it. The original reservation was gone. In its place was a completely fake one. Same time, same size, same restaurant. I didn't leave any notes, didn't tell Dan, didn't send a single message. No one would know until they showed up. I wasn't even sure who Lila Bennett was supposed to be. She didn't exist. Just someone I made up in the moment. But right now, she was the one sitting at their table. I didn't feel guilty, not even a little. They excluded me on purpose, laughed about it, and expected me to stay quiet. Now they'd walk into that restaurant, all dressed up, expecting to be seated, and there wouldn't be a place for them. I didn't need to fight. I didn't need to explain. I just made sure they knew what it felt like to be left out. Saturday night, I dressed casually and walked to the coffee shop across the street from the restaurant. I ordered a chai latte, grabbed a window seat, and waited. Thorn and Vine had a big glass front, so I could see the entrance perfectly. At 6:27 p.m., Dan's family started to arrive. His mum showed up first in a navy blue coat, talking loudly on the phone. Then came his sisters, both dressed like they were going to a wedding. Dan was with them, holding a box, probably his dad's gift. Everyone looked excited, chatting and smiling. They went inside at 6:30 sharp. I took a slow sip of my drink. A few minutes later, Dan texted me. Dan, did you cancel the reservation? I didn't reply. 2 minutes after that, my phone started ringing. It was his mum. I let it go to voicemail. Then another text from Dan. Dan, they don't have our name. The place is packed. Did you seriously do this? Across the street, I saw the hostess shaking her head and pointing at her screen. Dan's mom was getting red in the face. She was waving her hands around, clearly arguing. One of Dan's sisters pulled out her phone, probably trying to prove something. I saw Dan standing off to the side, rubbing his forehead. They looked around the lobby, then stepped outside. His dad had arrived now, and he did not look happy. He said something sharp to Dan, then shook his head and walked away from the group. No table, no dinner, no backup plan. The restaurant was fully booked, just like I'd made sure. A party of 12 at a place like that doesn't get last-minute seating, especially not on a weekend. They stood outside for a while, arguing in a tight little circle. I finished my chai latte and watched them like a scene from a silent movie. No yelling, no revenge speech, just confusion, disappointment, and slowly growing panic. Finally, Dan looked around, then pulled out his phone again. Another text came in. Dan, seriously, what is wrong with you? Still, I didn't answer. They all started walking toward their cars. His mum looked completely humiliated. His dad didn't even say goodbye. I waited until they had all driven off, then stood up, tossed my empty cup, and walked home. They wanted a birthday dinner without me, so they got one, just not the kind they expected. The messages started rolling in the moment I got home. Dan's mum sent a long text, calling me childish and selfish, said I ruined a special night, and embarrassed the entire family. One of his sisters added a shorter message. Hope it was worth it. The other one didn't say anything at all. Dan came home an hour later. He walked through the door, face tense, jaw clenched. You cancelled it, he said, like he couldn't believe it. You actually cancelled the dinner. I didn't bother denying it. Yes, I did. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. Why would you do that? Why would you humiliate my family like that? I stood in the middle of the living room, calm. Humiliate them? They excluded me. They planned the whole thing behind my back. They laughed about it. You let them. It wasn't meant to be personal, he started. It was personal, Dan. I cut in. They made jokes about me. They left me out on purpose. And you knew. You let it happen. He shook his head. This is insane. You don't just blow up a dinner over a misunderstanding. I laughed once, bitterly. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was years of being pushed to the side. Years of being left out, talked over, made to feel like an outsider. I kept pretending everything was fine to keep the peace. But it's never been fine. Dan didn't answer right away. He just stared at me like I was someone he didn't recognize. Then he said quietly, I think I'm going to stay at my parents' for a bit. I nodded. Okay. He grabbed a bag from the closet, packed a few things, and walked out without another word. I stood there for a while, in the silence. Then I went upstairs, opened our closet, and started packing my own suitcase. Not because I was chasing after him, because I was finally done. Done pretending, done begging to be included, done waiting for someone to choose me. If he couldn't stand beside me now, then I didn't want him next to me at all. I sat on the edge of the bed, folding clothes into my suitcase, when the memories started coming back, one after another, like little paper cuts that had never healed. There was that Mother's Day brunch 2 years ago. I had spent hours making a homemade gift for Dan's mom, framed photos of the grandkids, decorated and wrapped with a card. When I handed it to her, she smiled politely, then set it aside like it was nothing. Later, I saw her open Dan's sister's store-bought perfume set and go on and on about how thoughtful it was. She never even mentioned my gift again. Then there was my birthday last year. Dan's parents had been over the night before, so he suggested we just keep things simple. No dinner, no cake. His mom had brought a shared gift for both of us, a kitchen apron, pink, with the words, "Dan's little helper." They laughed. I forced a smile. But the worst, a night I'll never forget. I was walking down the hallway at Dan's parents' house during a holiday party, and I overheard his mum talking to one of the aunts. She thought I wasn't around. "She's nice enough," she said, "but not really one of us, you know." The aunt had just nodded. "Doesn't have that family feel." They said it like I wasn't real, like I was furniture, like I didn't matter. And still, I stayed. I baked. I smiled. I showed up. I told myself maybe one day I'd finally feel like I belonged. But standing in that room now, folding clothes into a suitcase, while Dan stayed at his mommy's house, I finally saw the truth. They never wanted me. And Dan, he didn't stand up for me. Not once. I grabbed a pen and a sticky note. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the blank page for a moment. Then I wrote, "You forgot to include me." So I took myself out of the picture. I stuck it to the fridge. The same fridge where birthday invites and family photos were usually pinned. Then I zipped up my suitcase, grabbed my coat, and walked out. I didn't know where I was going yet, but for the first time in a long time, I wasn't walking towards someone else's expectations. I was walking away from them. A few weeks passed. I moved into a small apartment across town. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet, peaceful. No family group chats, no cold smiles, no fake invitations. But I wasn't quite done yet. One afternoon, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea and opened my laptop. I still had screenshots of the group chat, the jokes, the dinner plans, the part where they laughed about leaving me out. I printed them. Then I pulled up the restaurant's Yelp page and left a review. Not under my own name, of course. I created an account using my mother-in-law's full name and email, which I still had from a shared grocery list app. The review read, "Extremely rude staff. We had a reservation for a big family birthday dinner, and the hostess claimed we were never booked. Embarrassed us in front of everyone. Probably better suited for people who don't value real service or family." I gave it 1 star. Then I added something extra. A photo of a woman with short hair, arms crossed, looking upset, something I pulled from stock photos. Labeled it, "Our experience at Thorn and Vine. A night ruined." Next, I took everything. The printed group chat screenshots, the fake Yelp review printout, and a photo of the cancelled reservation confirmation from my email, and slid them into a bright red envelope. I wrote my father-in-law's name on the front and dropped it in the mail. I didn't include a return address. A few days later, the post started spreading online. Someone shared the fake Yelp review on a local gossip forum called Elm Street Secrets, tagging it, "Classic Karen Meltdown." The comments exploded. "Imagine being so entitled you blame the restaurant for your own screw-up." This has Dan's mum written all over it. I've seen her in there before. Total nightmare. Lamau they booked under the wrong name and blamed the staff. Embarrassing. Word got around fast. Dan's perfect family. Suddenly, not so perfect. Just another angry group who thought they were better than everyone else. They wanted to pretend I didn't exist. Now they couldn't stop people from talking about me, even if they had no idea who I was. That was the real revenge. Quiet, sharp, and unforgettable. My new apartment wasn't big, but it was mine. No forced smiles, no awkward dinners, no one walking around like I was invisible. Just a little space with warm light, quiet mornings, and peace I hadn't felt in years. The silence didn't bother me. I didn't miss the group chats or family gossip. I made new routines, grocery shopping on Sundays, walking to the park after work, lighting a candle before bed. I started going to a weekly book club at a local cafe. The people there actually listened when I spoke. No backhanded compliments. No pretending. I reconnected with an old friend from college. We got lunch and ended up talking for 3 hours straight. She said I seemed lighter. I guess I was. One night, a message popped up on my phone. It was from Dan's younger sister, the one who usually just followed along with whatever the family said. Honestly, she wrote, I wish I had done what you did. They make everyone feel small. You just finally said no. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I just replied, took me a while, but I'm glad I did. She didn't answer after that, but I didn't need her to. That evening, I made myself dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta with garlic and herbs and a glass of wine. I set the table for one, played soft music, opened the window to let in the breeze. I sat down and smiled. There was no shouting, no forced laughter, no one picking apart what I brought to the table, literally or emotionally. Just me, choosing myself. Not all revenge has to be loud. Sometimes it doesn't look like revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply walking away and refusing to come back. Sometimes it's eating dinner alone and loving every bite. And sometimes the quietest ending is the most powerful one of all. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.